I gather that scoring for the crucial question of what is really needed to meet the person's needs is often done by a resource allocation system, a computer program, where so many points mean so many pounds, and that's what you get offered if you're eligible. Is that lawful?
Well, yes, in theory, it's a way of generating an indicative budget, but the devil is in the meaning of indicative. In ordinary English terms, it just means as a starter for 10, as it were, an upfront allocation to be messing around with, and it can go up or it can go down. Lots of people don't understand that, or they're not told it, and therefore they think that they've then got to fit their needs to that budget, but that's only the first offer. The real problem with the resource allocation systems is that it's garbage in it and garbage out. If you put rubbish figures in as the figures that the computer program and the algorithm then operate on, you get rubbish figures out that bear no relationship whatsoever to the real cost of care. And there has already been an important case that settles that there's got to be a rational link between the points and the needs, then between the needs and the money, and then as between the money and the actual real live market rate for the services. So it should work, but if the figures have been messed with at the top because the council's just imposed a 30% budget cut on every directorate, obviously people's care package budgets will appear to have gone down and they won't have enough money to buy what they need. If I could give you an example, it's very often that it happens that a person who's going into supported living, that's independent living outside of a care home but with other disabled people, they will be told that their indicative allocation is X pounds, and you will find that that X automatically assumes savings because of the number of people who will be living together sharing a full-time care worker. So the budget won't be an individual budget at all. It will be assuming that this person is going to be sharing their care package with other people. And that's okay at night, but it's not okay if it's an assumption that applies to the whole of the rest of the day. So that people have to go to the shops together, they have to go to each other's medical appointments, they have to go out to the same club, and sometimes they even have to go to the same church, even though one of them isn't interested. That's outrageous. Another really tricky example, and dangerous in the light of the MenCap decision that's just come out of the Court of Appeal, is to do with the cost of live-in care. If someone's got very expensive care needs, because they need care unpredictably and frequently throughout every 24 hours, having a live-in carer is often a feasible way of ensuring that they get what they need. But a live-in carer, of course, isn't working for 24 hours a day. Even a live-in carer can only work for a certain number of hours a day under the Working Time Directive. So what you will sometimes find councils doing is working out what live-in care would cost somebody who was going to directly employ somebody to do live-in care, and then they will say, well, that's all you can have per week. And they will avoid discussing the fact that the carer can only do X hours a day, and they will also magically omit to mention that, of course, there's a commission that somebody like you or me, if we go to an agency for a live-in carer introduction, we have to pay a weekly commission on top of the actual wage that we're going to pay the worker. So there is real obscurity in how resource allocation systems have had their figures messed with before they're even applied to a human being.
Have the figures in those programmes been changed as austerity has meant more cuts to councils, do you think?
Oh, I absolutely think so. I think that the whole reason local authorities were attracted to buying resource allocation systems in the first place from commercial companies was that it offered the facility to reflect changes in the adult services budget, like 30% cuts from the members, and to reflect those changes so as to trickle down the 30% effect on everybody. But of course, if you don't understand how a RAS works, and you are told as the client that the RAS has magically come up with 30% less, you won't know where to attack that in terms of a legal challenge. I've come across a man whose budget was reduced from 60,000 down to 20,000 and then down to £3,000, all in the space of 18 months, by supposed reliance on what the resource allocation system said. I think that most people are just blinded by assurances from their care manager that resource allocation systems make for equity and treat everybody equally. But if what that means is treating everybody equally unlawfully, I think that's got to stop.